Hello, my name's Katie Parker. I'm going to be demonstrating how to make these beautiful pieces of jewellery, the Alethia necklace and earrings. Also, I've made up the bracelet which is suggested in the pattern, and I've also made up a couple of extra pieces which I'll show you at the end. Okay, so I'm just going to move these out of the way for a second and show you what we need to get started. So everything that you need is available for you in the kit, and I'm going to show you exactly what we need here. So we've got our Delica beads, which are here. So in the pattern they've used the code so that I'm going to use the same procedure. So we've got A's, B's and C's, and we've got some super duos, which are a 2-hole bead, and some gem duos, which are also a 2-hole bead. Now, a gem duo, it has a slight shape on one side and then it's flat on the other. So just as you're using those, just make sure you're using them the right way around. I will show you which way to pick them up as we go along. I'll also be using some size 12 beading needles. You can get away with using a 10 beading needle fine, but the size 12, because you're going to be making many passes, especially through these A beads, of the Delicas, a size 12 will just make your life easier and make it easy for you to pass that needle through there. I'm also using some £6 Fireline in the crystal or white colour, and you're going to be using quite long lengths of this if you want to make the necklace, but I will explain that as we go. What you need to do is make sure that you have got some snips, some really nice sharp snips to cut your thread and make your life easy for threading as well. That's very important. Okay, so we need to thread our 2 needles onto the 1 piece of thread. Now if you're making the necklace, you're going to start off with around 11 feet, which is around about 3.4 meters. Don't worry, that does sound like a lot of thread all at once, but you're actually going to be using it in half because we're using a 2-needle beading technique. Okay, so we're going to start off by making one of those diamonds. So the diamonds from the design, so this central piece, this nice diamond shape here, which is actually, it's a Peyote diamond, and then we're going to add the super duos through the sides, and we're going to also make this connection part here too. Okay, but we're starting initially on one of these diamonds. So I'm going to use a shorter piece of thread just for demonstration purposes. I might just bring that in a little bit. Okay, so we've got my needles on each end, and we just need to pick up one A bead, one of your A Delica beads, and find the centre of the thread with that bead. So yours obviously will be a lot longer length if you're making a necklace. So we've got one bead in the centre of our thread. Just leave that there for a second. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to work by loading my beads up onto the left and then working on the right. If you're left-handed, I would suggest doing it the opposite way around. So I'm using the left side needle, and I'm going to load up my needle now. So I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 A's, 2 B's, 3 C's, and then work back. So then it's 2 A's, and we're going to add 1, 2, 3. We're actually going to add 4 of the A B's because we've already got this beginning bead here, so that makes it nice and even. I'm going to let those drop down to the centre, and then pop your needle into your mat to one side, so we don't need that left hand side needle at the moment. So initially we're going to ignore this first bead, this middle bead. Ignoring that one, we're going to pick up an A bead on our right side needle. Okay, so we're going to ignore that first one, just leave that out of the way for a second. We're going to miss a bead and then come through the next bead, so we're making a Peyote stitch. Okay, so just take your time, just let go of your needle for a second and encourage that to sit the way you want it to sit. So what you'll find is that one that we ignored is now sat horizontally. So it's sat horizontally this way. You'll have 2 beads next to each other and then 1 bead with both threads going through on top of that, and that's the beginning of your peyote. So next we're going to pick up another A, and we're going to go through the first B bead and get the next section of our peyote to sit in. Okay, like so. So the beginning of our peyote is starting to take shape. We're going to pick up a B and then come through the first C coloured bead. So that B is going to sit nicely next to the other B. So giving it a pull on each side will make them sit in place beautifully. We're going to pick up a C and come through the last C, the third C in the row, the original row, and pulling that through. Do excuse my fingers just for this beginning bit, so you just need to know they've pulled it all into shape. Okay, so you can see that's sitting nicely there. We're going to pick up a B and come through the last B colour on our row. So it's still exactly the same as peyote, miss a bead through the next bead. Getting that to sit nicely there. Then we're going to move back to our A colour, so picking up an A, miss an A, and through the next A. There we go. Now this very last bead, this is one thing you must remember. So on this very last one, we're going to pick up an A, but instead of coming up through the last A, we're going to come down through it. So by coming down through it, our thread is going to be at opposite sides to each other. So our right is then going to become our left, and our left is going to become our right. And you will find that you again have that horizontal bead at the top, just like we started at the bottom. So we've got our beautiful peyote in this middle section here. Then at each end we've got 1 bead, 1 delicate bead that is horizontal. Okay, and that, if your piece looks like that, that is absolutely perfect. Okay, so we're going to start on our next row. So using my right side again, I'm going to proceed down the first bead, the first sticky out bead. I'm not going to add any beads on that first part. Just tighten up that side. Then we're going to pick up an A and come through the first sticky out bead. So now it becomes the more familiar peyote pattern. We're going to pick up another A and come through the first sticky out B bead. We're going to pick up a B and come through the C coloured bead. We're going to pick up another B and come through the next sticky out B coloured bead. It's nice how it, with delicas, they just pop into place at the bottom. So then we're going to proceed on to A's again. So A and through the next sticky out bead, and another A and through the last sticky out bead. And then you must remember to come through and across that very beginning delicate bead that's horizontal. Okay, now what I found is easier is actually to turn the piece over now. So bringing the thread at this side and across. And proceeding down, so we're going to be doing exactly the same as we've just done. So coming down that first bead, picking up an A and through, picking up another A and through the next one, picking up a B and through that central bead, another B through the next one, the next sticky out beads, and then back to A's for the last two. and then again coming across that final delica, and there we go. That's the beginning, the middle section of our diamond done. So again, you can keep turning your work. It doesn't matter about turning your work until when it comes to adding gem geos, you need to make sure you're on the right side, but we're not near that part yet, so we're going to continue on working on the side that's more comfortable to you. So this time we're going to come down 2 beads because we've got an extra row in there. So proceeding down those first 2 beads, we're going to add an A colour, another A, whoops, we're going to add a B, another A, and another A. And we're going to come down the last 2 beads just like we did at the top there, and through the very, very bottom bead. And I can turn my work again and swap my needles around. And same with this side. We're going to proceed down the first 2 beads, picking up an A, coming through the next sticky out bead, another A, through the next sticky out bead, picking up a B, and through the next sticky out bead, and then back to A's to finish off this row. So 1 A and then another one, and again we're going to come down the last 2 delica beads and through the very bottom there. Okay, so then I would turn my work again to a direction where I can work on the right hand side, so I can keep on with this needle on this part, and I can come down 3 beads this time. So that's the first one we came down 1, the second one 2, the third one 3. So come down 3 delica beads, and this time we will be adding all A colours on this row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, and then we're going to proceed through all of those delicas till we get to the very tip of our diamond, and through across the bottom again. Again, I can turn my work and coming down 3 delicas. Again, this road is just the same as the last one, so it's adding all A colours. So picking up an A and through the next sticky out bead, picking up an A and through the next sticky out bead, and the same again. And remember to come through that whole set of 3 delicas at the very end on your last one, and across that very bottom bead, and I can turn my work again. So we're going to add another row of delicas. So this time we can come through 4 beads, so through 4 delicas, and again just adding A's. We've already got this beautiful diamond shape in the middle, so now we're just adding A's for this outer border. A and another one, and then just remember on that last one to come through those 4 delica beads, so coming through all the way straight to the bottom and across that very top bead. Okay, then I can turn my piece over, just moving my threads to where I need them to be. And I can proceed through this side, so it's through all 4 again, picking up a bead, picking up another, still working with the A's, and then picking up your last one and proceeding down those 4, so all 4 of those delicas down to the bottom and then across. Okay, so I'm just going to move this so that my thread's at the top, and I'll be working down this side. So this is the section that we're going to start to add our super duos. So for each diamond you're going to need 6 super duos, and what I would always suggest first, before you start adding them, just pop them on your mat and make sure that every one of those holes is clear. If you don't check this now, and then you finish the necklace base and then you come to add the embellishment, you will not be able to add the embellishment, and all that work would have been for nothing, because you can't replace a super duo. So it's really important that we check that all those holes are free and are able to be used now. Okay, so we're going to proceed down 5 beads just as we have been doing, proceeding down the sides like so. We're going to pick up 2 super duos. Now this middle sticky out bead here, this one here, we're going to, instead of coming down, we're going to go up this bead, up that centre bead. So we've added 2 and up that centre bead. Oops, I've made myself a knot. There we go, sorted that out. Okay, so I've added those onto the centre bead. Now what I find is, because we want this one to sit in the middle just to get it in the right place, is if I pull my thread across, as you can see I've turned it upside down for a second, I've pulled my thread across, and then I know my thread needs to come through this hole here. So through this second one. So basically my threads come up, around that middle bead, and then back through the second bead. I'll show you again on the other side, but we'll just finish this side off for now. Then we're going to pick up our 3rd super duo and then pop that into those last 5 delicas along the side and let that sit down nicely. And don't forget to every time cross over that last delica bead. So you're going to work on the opposite side. Move my needles around. Okay, so we're going to proceed down the side. So I've proceeded down the side, come all the way down here through 5 delicas. Then I'm going to pick up 2 super duos. So the super duos are on my needle, down onto my thread, and this middle sticky out bead, instead of coming down, I'm going to go up. So I'm going in the opposite direction, up. Encourage those to sit so they're close to the work, and then pull your thread in between, and it'll just give you a nice direction, make them sit nicely to come and sit in between there. Okay, so then I've come through the second super duo. So my thread has come down the side, through both beads, around and made a loop using the middle delica, and then back through this second bead here. My thread's exiting here. Then I can pick up my third super duo and proceed down the rest of that side through all of those super duos like so, and then that third one will sit in nicely and you will have this. okay, and crossed over at the bottom. So that's the first part of our little demonstration of making the diamond, adding this, the Super Duo embellishment, and now I'm going to show you how to make the connection and how to go about starting your next diamond. Okay, so we have our diamonds there. For this, we're going to need 4 of your Super Duos and 2 gem duos, and we're going to be using some of the delicas as well. Again, absolutely important, imperative that you check every single one of these Super Duos and gem duo holes. So making sure that the holes are free on all of those. There we go, good to go on this. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a sea colour. We're going to pick up a Super Duo, and we're going to pick up a gem duo on this side, because this is coming on the right hand side. We're going to use the bottom hole. So when we talk about Super Duo, gem duos and bottom hole and top hole, if you've got the gem duo facing in a diamond like shape, like so, towards you, this is the bottom hole and this is the top hole. So we're going to use the bottom hole. We're going to add another Super Duo, and then we're going to add another C bead and an A bead. This is onto the right hand side thread. So I've got a C, a Super Duo, a gem duo, a Super Duo, a C and an A. Now on the opposite side we will add a C, a Super Duo, a gem duo, and I'm going to pass through, just making sure that I'm passing it through on the right side, so it's going to sit up. So I prefer to pop it onto my beading mat. I know it's going to sit opposite this side, so I know this is the hole I need to use. Another Super Duo and a C. Okay, and then this needle is going to cross over this A. Okay, so we're going to make a loop, and this will cross over and all come together. Now don't worry if all your Super Duos are not going to sit perfect all the time. That comes with the very, very final part of the embellishment, which you'll find in all the pattern instructions. How to begin the next section of your peyote in this diamond shape. So again, just as we did right at the beginning, we're going to load up our left side needle. So we are going to pop 1, 2, 3 of colour A, 1, 2 of B, 1, 2, 3 of C, and work our way back down. So 1, 2 of B, and 1, 2, 3, this time 4 of A, because don't forget this is your 4th one. This crossover bead that's right here is your 4th bead. Okay, so we cannot use the left needle for a little while. We can pick up our right side needle and start our peyote. So my thread is exiting that crossover bead here in the little connection that we just did, and we need to peyote along this section. So we're going to pick up an A bead, ignoring that crossover bead. We're going to miss the first bead and then come through the next one, which will be an A coloured bead. I'm going to pull this through and give that a little tighten up, tighten on both sides so that everything comes in nice and close together again. Spend a little bit of time just making sure this very, very first bit is nice and neat. There we go. and you'll have a kind of little cross shape at the beginning part of your peyote. So this time we're going to pick up another A, and we're going to come through the first of the B beads, the B colour. Pull this through and ask it to sit nicely in your peyote pattern. This time we're going to pick up a B bead and come through the first C colour bead. So this is exactly what we did right at the very beginning. You can see our pattern starting to build up here. And then we're going to pick up a C. So we're coming out of the first C, we're going to miss that middle C and through the last C coloured bead and through. Then we're going to pick up a B coloured bead, missing the next B and through the last B colour. Just take your time, just making sure that they're all sat nicely in the row. But it is easier this time because you have got something to kind of pick up and be able to handle it a bit better than that very first row that we did. So we're going to go back to picking up A beads. So we're going to miss the next bead and go through the next A coloured bead. And getting that to sit nicely next to its partner in the peyote pattern. Just going to pull this thread a second. There we go. Okay, and pull on the other side. There we go. And then again, as we did with that very first part that we did, that very first run of peyote, the very last one, we come through the opposite way. So a normal peyote would continue in the same direction. This one, the very last one, is going to come downwards, and that is going to give us that horizontal bead that we need at the top and bottom of each. So crossing over our threads and then just pulling this in gently, like so. So now I have my peyote ready to work on exactly as we just did here. So if you want to rewind here and go through all this section again, and you're going to continue making these until you've got 10 for the length of the necklace, or whichever length you prefer to make yours. At the beginning, you'll find from the pattern that you actually make that centerpiece first, and then continue these each side and then at the opposite side. So, and you're just going to continue making those, and then when you get to the end you can add your loop and embellishments, and all the instructions are there for you. So let's just take another look at the necklace that I've made. So it's obviously it's not my design, it is the design that has been made by Caroline Kay for Beadsmith. And so this is the pattern that you're going to be making, and the pattern's going to show you all this extra embellishment around the sides and how to make this central piece here, which is very simple. It's very similar to the way that I've just showed you here. So in the pattern you're going to get lots and lots of instructions. It's going to give you really full detailed instructions of how to make those peyote diamonds. Everything is there for you. It's worded very well and very simply for anybody to be able to understand. And yeah, so these are the finished pieces in the two different colours ways. You can see the name of the design. It's by Caroline Kay, and it's been a pleasure to make this for you. So I'm just going to move these out of the way, and then I'll show you a couple of more pieces that I've made myself. Just to show you some of the other pieces that I made with these kits. This is the bracelet. Obviously you've already seen this. I decided to make it with 5 of the diamonds. The instructions do say 6 to 7 diamonds, but obviously it depends on your wrist size. And I just added a loop on each end, a hook and a chain. So I'll just show you how that fits around my wrist. So like so I can just fasten it there, and it saved me having a bracelet that was too loose. So it just depends on the size of your wrist. Also, I've made a mandala pendant. So using the super duos and these beautiful gem duos, I've also used in there delicas and the size 15s, which is what you're going to use for the embellishment on your necklace too. And also I've made the matching earrings which are a really cute design, quite nice and starry. I really like those. Okay, thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.